So earlier today, I was coming down to just see if I could hook up with you guys, and went over to Muscatatuck because I'd always wanted to go and check it out. Heard some good things, and I swung in and stopped at I think it's called Sandhill Pond, and it's like, I'll check this out. So I get out of the car and walk over there. Wasn't really thinking anything, just sort of enjoying the space, and walked back and go to put it in the back of my car, and that handprint is on the back of my car. And that handprint was not there when I left town, and it wasn't there when I stopped for gas in Columbus.
They claim that our eyes will just be created a slightly different from what they are. When we talk, we see things are.
Welcome to Strange Familiars. How you doing tonight, Allison?
Doing well.
All right.
So you've ordered the rain for extra ambiance.
Yes, for sure. On tonight's show, I'm going to be presenting some audio that I recorded a long time ago, over a year ago.
That's not really that long in the arc of history.
It was recorded on our first trip to Indiana. Some people had us over to their haunt, and they gathered a bunch of people around to tell us just a variety of different, paranormal stories, experiences, ghost stuff, just weird things that happened, some Bigfooty kind of stuff. And I've been meaning to edit it, and I didn't do it. And for some reason this week, I said, you know what? It's time to edit that. Every now and then I'll do that. I'll go back into the archives and I'll be like, it's time now. I don't know why. So we'll have a variety of stories from a variety of people. Before we get to that, though, I have some announcements to make. Chad is asking everyone in the world to come out to the Sewing Thing by Opossum Pouch Soft Goods. I believe the Sewing Thing is you get to make a handmade tarp, and you will make it there. When you register and pay the fee, it covers camping and all materials as well. To register, you call J. Hercules of Opossum Pouch Soft Goods at 304-559-5925. That's 304-559-5925. The dates for this event are July 25th through 27th. And Chad, of course, Mr. Ruck Rabbit Outdoors will be there. There are only 6 spaces left. It's a $325 fee, but it does include instruction, all the materials you will need to make the tarp, and camping. It's at Bark Camp State Park in Belmont, Ohio. And remember, if you mentioned you heard it from us, either Strange Familiars or Ruck Rabbit, you will get a discount. Once again, to register, you call J. Hercules at 304-559-5925.
Oh, and I wanted to also tell everybody about an event that's happening in Columbia, Pennsylvania.
And this is at State Theater.
Yes, this is at State Theater Vintage Emporium, which is on Locust Street, which is kind of the main drag if you go into Columbia. This is where I have a place where I vend and have a little shop inside of there, and they are having a Summerween festival, which is Halloween.
It has nothing to do with the band and everything to do with Halloween.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Ween. No. It's Halloween in the summer. That's where Summerween comes from.
Kind of like Christmas in July, but
yes, but
Halloween
in the summertime. And so there's a pop-up oddity show, a spell jar bar. A lot of the people that have booths in there have expanded, and they were kind of celebrating the expansion, including the Beatnik Witch. There's flash tattoos, and I saw that they actually are doing some based on the people who vend there and the things that they like. So there's like something to represent a lot of the people in there. There's a micro bakery called the Daydream Bread House, and they are setting up as well.
Okay.
And also amongst that Motley Crue. Motley Crue is not playing.
Neither Ween nor Motley Crue are playing.
Neither Ween or Motley Crue are playing. Is one Timothy Renner.
Yeah.
And he's going to be signing books from about 12 to 3, possibly longer if people hang around.
Yeah, I'll stay till 4 or 5 if people are still coming in.
And I think some of this is to benefit there's a raffle that will benefit the Columbia Animal Shelter as well.
All right, that's a good cause.
Yep. So
I will be there signing books, selling books.
I'm not sure where in the theater you're going to be, but we're going to plop down a table somewhere.
All right.
And even if I have to move space out of my own booth,
what are the dates for this?
This is on Saturday, July 19th, which is not Saturday, this coming Saturday, but the next. And they open at 10 in the morning. So
okay.
So I think,
but I'll roll in around noon.
Yeah, there'll be things going on all day. Plus, there's plenty of things to do in there normally. There's a lot of different little booths, and they have everything from pop culture, comics, and toys and video games to oddities and antiques and
vintage clothes.
Yeah, tons of vintage clothes.
And right up the street is Vortex Books. I believe they're having a signing the same day. Not with me. Mm-hmm. Someone else will be signing. Yeah. So you got to come to State Theater to get my books. But
yeah, but there's plenty to do in Columbia.
Pop into Vortex as well. So it's a cool little shop.
Yeah, there's shops all along Locust Street that are fun.
All right. Hope to see everybody out there. What's that again? That is
July 19th at State Theater Vintage Emporium in Columbia, Pennsylvania on Locust Street.
All right. Very good. So on our first trip to Indiana, we were invited by Tina to their haunt. So they run a Halloween haunt there. It's called Wicked Woods Haunted Trail, which wasn't open. It's, open around Halloween time. But they had us over. They had a campfire, and everybody kind of stood around the campfire and told stories, and they were kind enough to let me record. So I have a variety of different stories here. Some people say their name before starting the stories. Some people don't. At this point, it's been far too long since I've been there, and
to remember.
I'm sorry, I forget everyone's name.
Yeah. So, do you remember there was a guy named John and a guy named Tyler?
Well, John and Tyler were there as well, because I'm glad you mentioned that. And one of our listeners, Brian, stopped by, and he tells a tale about finding a strange handprint on his car after stopping at a preserve in Jennings County on the way to the cookout, campout thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the stories were all recorded there. I want to thank Tina for having us over. I think I thanked her when we came back, but it has been so long, and my mind was a scramble when we came back that first time. So I'm sorry it's taken so long to get to this, but thank you so much for having us. And
now's the time.
Here's a bunch of stories. Oh, I should mention, this is, I have my recorder. We're standing around a fire. The audio, I've done my best to even it out, but it's very uneven because sometimes people were across the fire telling stories. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they were right beside me.
I kind of like that because it reminds me like the early days of the binaural microphones.
Well, I evened it out as best I could, but it's definitely kind of uneven audio throughout, but that's the nature of like those kind of recordings.
Yeah. Yeah. So. It makes you feel like you're there.
Okay. Without further ado, let's get to some of these haunt stories.
And it wasn't too far from here, about a mile.
So.
And I don't know if it's a spirit or an apparition, but my mom came to get me over at my friend's house, and I was probably 7th grade.
Okay.
And it was a figment of a girl.
Come on, sit down.
She didn't have no legs. You could tell she had a dress on, and the lights hit her. She kind of was just drifting, and she looked right at the car. And then just kind of disappeared.
Wow.
And
yes,
I didn't know what to say, so I said, "Mom,
send your eyebrows.
Did you see anything?" She goes, "You seen it too." And we was just talking about the other night, and I was like, "Mom, that's the only time I've ever seen any, whatever it was, a spirit or whatnot."
Right.
So that just
so everybody
did it. The part you could see,
Did it look like
There's a little
solid?
girl. Yeah, you could tell the face. She had long hair, like a dress on. And she had no legs.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
it appeared and then looked at us and then disappeared and went across the road. And I was just like...
And you were driving when this happened?
Hi,
Yes.
Sherry.
Okay. And about how far from you was this?
About to the gravel.
Okay, so
We was
close
driving.
enough to get a good look at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because she looked right at us. But
Yeah.
whatever it was, you tell it's a little girl,
Yeah.
probably 7, 8 years old.
You know what?
But that's what always freaked me out. I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, Mom, did you see something? She was like, you seen it too? But
What's your name? You can just use your first name if you want.
Trent.
Okay, is it okay to
Live
use
here-
this on the
yeah,
podcast? Is that all right?
I've lived here all my life.
Can I use this on my podcast? Is that
That's
right?
fine.
All right.
But I've never seen anything like that in my life. And I'm a visual person, so it's something I'll always remember.
Yeah, that's neat. I've had other stories, people tell me things with no legs, and then other people told me stories where they just saw the legs.
Really?
Yeah.
So other people have seen stuff like that.
Oh,
like that.
yeah, absolutely.
So what is it then?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what any of this stuff
I
is.
believe in Jesus. I believe there's a devil, but
Sure thing.
whatever that was a little girl. I mean, how could you...
Yeah, I mean, my only thought on this stuff, and I might be wrong, I don't know, because I can't tell you what it is. I can tell you where it comes from, where it goes. My only thought is it's tapping on the shoulder and saying there's more to this life than the material stuff. There's more to this life than the day-to-day stuff
The
that we deal
Bible
with.
says that when the last trumpet sounds, which is when Jesus comes back, that the dead shall rise first, and they shall receive their glorified bodies and ascend to heaven. So, when we die, I think we're not in heaven, and our spirits have to get restless. I mean, you really think about it. I mean, if your spirit and all, and that's what I kind of think is maybe, that's my own personal belief and think. And
My friend Josh, who I write books with, he says everything's a ghost. I think Tyler, and it's...
Yeah. I believe that.
Yes and no. I mean, Tyler might say everything's a goblin. You know what I mean?
I think goblins are ghosts. So.
Yeah, without being literal about it. Yeah.
I think there is a layer of this reality that pertains to what multiple mindsets would call some form of spirit or spirit-like phenomena. And I think the disservice that we see playing out in the modern day and age when it comes to these topics is that there's a very strict and limited idea of what spirit means and how that looks aesthetically.
Yeah.
So, when you look at things like haunted houses, you have this idea that the ghosts that haunt your house must just be strictly the spirits of the dead.
Right.
And that's it. Then they look like people. So when you die, you just must look like the way you do, right? You wear your same clothes, even though clothing shouldn't exist.
Right.
You look exactly as you are now. And then there's this idea that when it comes to, other sorts of phenomena, whether it be UFOs or whether it be things like Bigfoot, you hear a lot of people speak in these terms that are very much heavily laden with physical terms. This is an undiscovered animal that is really good at hide and seek. It runs around the woods. Nobody can find it. No bodies, no breeding populations or enough food and all of its scarcity. It doesn't matter if you're in the deserts of Arizona or if you're in the wilderness of lands like this in Indiana. It seems they're very prevalent no matter where you go. And then you speak to people who see UFOs and, it must be little men from outer space. We know that math in all of its glory, tells us that there must be an infinite number of planets. Therefore, it's logically sound to assume that we're being visited by some other advanced civilization.
Yes.
And yet, when you go back hundreds and hundreds of years, this phenomena never changes. It might change the way it looks a little bit, but it all does this very nonsensical stuff, and all of that stuff very much pertains to the way ghosts act. And I just think it's... When you look at everything, it's like, what if ghosts can look like a multitude of things? You brought up orbs earlier. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you hear people talk about orbs, it's always in the context of maybe a photograph in a haunted jail or someone's house. And they're always very, size of bubbles that you can blow in the air. What do you think that orb would be called if it could grow to the size of a car and it was seen outside? Would it be called a ghost orb? Or would it be called a UFO?
Right.
Can those ghost orbs look like metal ships? Can they be reflective? If they were reflective, would we assume it was metal, or is it just a ghost? Can those same ghosts look like goblins? Can they look like half ape men? Is there a scientific cap as to what a ghost can look like? But there's all these strict terms that we give to this thing, and I don't think any of them are very accurate or very honest about the grand scope of what this could be, seen as it's a mystery. And I think that we're witnessing fractals of that mystery. And I think that thing, whatever it is, can look like those hair-covered ape men in the woods. It can look like those balls of light in the sky and in the trees. It can be the thing that wraps on the walls of your home. But I think it's more honest to try and look at an overview and be like, well, maybe all these are connected because they all seem to be occurring in the same place. Right. It doesn't put a statement on it definitively. At the end of the day, it's a mystery. Yeah. But I think a lot more people would make more progress if they approached it that way, and to just leave all the options open.
Leave every Yeah.
But that's just my thing.
See things as black and white.
Yeah. Well, I know we was looking at those pictures you had from that last podcast you had from that guy from Salem or whatever.
Yeah.
And them orbs, some of them look faces.
They had faces.
They had faces. About all the orbs on that
in
had faces in them that looked like to me.
Yeah. Yeah, he was seeing him in it too, and he had that weird thing with it. You could really make out that chain he was talking about. You could really make it out.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
He was a great storyteller.
He really was.
Yeah, he's
here. Salem's not far from here. Yeah, it's just pretty close. So, Trent,
I'll tell him one more other thing, and this is God's truth. What happened? I was married once when I was 21, and we was living at Vernon in a house, and it was an old house. It was built in 1843. Supposedly, the history, there was a 16-year-old girl that died of pneumonia. I always heard that. Well, when we got married, I had my first child, Victoria. Well, I was working at Walmart Distribution in Seymour, and I had the alarm set for 5:05 in the morning. Well, Victoria was in the bassinet beside the bed, and I was holding my ex-wife, we slept together, and all of a sudden, the alarm goes off, the light turns on the wall, and it wasn't 5:05, it was like 2:05. And Victoria she was 3 months old, I remember, and she was crying, but it wasn't real loud. Mm-hmm. So we wasn't waking up. And so whatever it was in that house, that spirit or whatever, woke us up. And my alarm still went off at 5:05. Mm-hmm. That is weird, I know. But that happened to me, and I'm like, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. But woke us up anyways.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Something did. Something that turned on the light and hit the alarm. So, like I say, you hear all kinds of stuff, but that's the things that's happened to me in my life that I know they've really happened.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So how'd you feel about that after that happened?
My buddies, they was always talking, well, she's watching, when you guys are having sex or whatnot, So it was like, what do you think she's thinking? So, we kidded around and everything, but there was a few times after it happened, she said that she heard stuff coming down the stair, down the stairs, and there was nobody there, but I didn't really witness anything else, but it was just weird how it happened.
How old was the baby at that point?
She was 3 months old.
3 months? Okay, so pretty new.
Yeah.
And we still own that house. My mom lives in that house there in Vernon right now. The house next to it used to be an old funeral home too, so we own it.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Probably got a lot to do with it.
I wanted to ask you guys, did you guys go by the Convoy Farm?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's not.
The old poor farm.
It's actually, it's not. Well, I wonder, it's not far from here. Mm-hmm. There's a poor farm that was supposed to be over towards, what is that? Towards Madison, which is
Jefferson
County and all, and that's supposed to be where the asylum was. But
okay,
and she and her article, and then Yosemite West book or whatever, but that's not anything like what happened. I
Right,
read it.
right.
We have it, but they talked about the convoy farm, and that is actually, if my cousin, I was telling you about his home, if you just go outside his door and just go about 1 mile up the end of the road, I didn't even know that it was the convoy farm there, but that's where that is. So whenever
About another mile is where.
yeah, and about
Bush
another
Diggers is
mile
at.
is
Okay.
where,
Bush Diggers, yeah.
you know.
Huh.
But I don't know what there was a big place there. Well, I remember growing up there, and my family always told me that that's where they incinerated bodies at. So I just wonder, like, if when someone died, if they didn't take them there. And there, I mean, it stood for a long time, but now there's just some
It's just the
foundation and stuff. But
there.
I do know they have a big rock out there now that says the Convoy Farm on it.
Ah.
And so I don't know if, I mean, I know that they were the ones that watched over the poor farm back then. But, and it's like I said, my cousin Paul, his house is right at the end. I told them about Paul, and they showed him the pictures. And
oh, did you guys see the? Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, and my mom just lives like about a quarter of a mile up the road from there, and that's where Tracy had a fiance. They weren't married, but he passed away now. But he would come. They would come and stay with me, you know, my mom sometimes for like the weekend or whatever. Well, I tried to get them to go with me to Paul's house because the Bible says, where two or more are gathered, there I am in the midst. And all I knew was my cousin was being tormented to death. And I didn't really know what to do. So I wanted them to go with me, you know, there. And let's just try and do something about it, because he had actually went to jail for a small amount of time for whatever, drinking usually. But he was gone. I was like, we're going to go there. We're going to do this. Well, Eddie was, he was outside and he heard some stick crack. My dogs were there and they were like growling. They were going across the road.
There were 3 dogs.
And they stopped and they kind of crawled back.
Started backing up, all 3 of them.
He swore that he seen, you know, something that looked like a bigfoot.
He
you know?
swore till the day he died.
Well, that being said,
Yes,
then
he
he wouldn't go with me to the house.
But,
Therefore, something divinely interfered with us going there, because when we talked about it out loud, of course, I mean, but then he was spooked out and he wouldn't go with us there.
Yeah.
And the next day, I wish I had those pictures, and the next day they went across the road, and there was kind of like a little, you could kind of see a footprint, but
exactly
you
where
really
he
couldn't
to.
tell whether it was a footprint or not. It was just kind of something. But
me and her mom walked over there with him, and there were tracks.
I believe
And I had
something
them on my
divinely
phone.
interfered with us going there to that house.
Wow. With my phone in my pocket and junked my phone. So it trashed the pictures. But me and her mother both seen the tracks.
Well, guys, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Thank you for telling your story.
You guys ever do a paranormal
Her mother
thing or
also
whatever,
seen them.
you guys get it with Tina, and we got the 2 houses there in Vernon where this has happened at. So
fantastic. All right.
Bye, Trent.
Can
you get out?
We'll see you guys.
Thank you for telling your story.
Could you repeat that for Tim? Repeat your story.
So let me. So your name first of all.
Tracy.
Okay. Is it okay to use this story on the podcast?
Sure.
All right.
We were at her mother's trailer, and it was on out here, about around in the same area.
All in one line.
Yeah. But I was getting stuff out of the car, and my fiance was out in the yard, and he was messing with the dogs. Well, the dogs started paying attention to something across the road. Well, he swore, and before I could get up and see what was going on, all I managed to see was the 3 dogs stop in their tracks, and all 3 moved backwards.
Wow.
I've never seen that before ever, and they moved backwards. Well, right exactly where he pointed. The next day, me and her mother walked across that road, and it was just a field where they had already.
Yeah, there was a trailer there before, and they moved the trailer out, and the lady had passed away, and it was just kind of like
they'd been working the field or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was clearly tracks.
Wow.
They were big footprints. I swear to God, I swear to you. We both seen them, and I took pictures of them with my phone. But a day or two later, I fell in the creek with my phone in my back pocket, and I ruined the pictures, didn't I?
Wow.
Well, and you know, all of this is like a divine interference.
That is for real.
But your fiance saw a creature.
Yes, until he died. He died swearing.
And how long after that did he die?
Oh, not until.
Well, it's probably about 5 years.
So some years.
Probably.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, some years. But
he was adamant.
Yeah.
He wanted to set up snares, and I mean,
he
was
was
for real.
ready to catch it.
He was for real.
Oh.
I was like, well, I have dogs.
Yeah, we can't do that. We catch the neighbor kids.
Oh,
you know,
right.
You know,
we can't do that. But he was serious. He was really serious.
Yeah, that's my big worry. All these guys who had these like going to go out and kill one.
That's right.
Fine. A, I don't think they'll ever do it. There's
Right.
too many stories of these things being shot and nothing happened.
Right.
But B, it's like you're going to kill a person messing around.
Somebody messing around,
I truly think it's supernatural.
It absolutely is.
Whatever it is that we see and we witness, I believe it's supernatural. You're not going to find a pile of bones anywhere because it's all supernatural. There's
too many people shot. I mean, in my book, I have stories of people who shoot them, and most of the time does nothing at all. But the ones they see the bullet hole and a blue light will come out of it.
Wow!
Come on, you know,
yeah.
I'll tell you one of the weirdest things I've seen around the woods around these woods, over closer to Mom's. We were rock hunting, you know, just hiking around, and in all these tall weeds, in the middle of it was this padded down area, and it was like in a big circle. Well, in the middle of that circle, and this is weird as hell, there was an upside down turtle shell and a pile of small bones, and they were put in a pile. Now, I don't know about you all, but I don't know no animals that, use an upside down turtle shell to eat out of whatever,
I was thinking that, Tyler.
for a bowl.
He was just telling us
and put their bones in a pile. I've never seen an animal do that. I mean, so I don't know what that was. I really don't, but I did see that. That was crazy. Yeah. Because it was like in a perfect circle, like they had bedded down or something.
And Tracy doesn't live but about 2 or 3 miles.
Yeah, just right beside the racetrack.
Yeah.
So.
Celtic,
UFOs, but that's,
we see all kinds of weird things in the sky around here.
They were talking about something they seen.
We saw a big old ball of fire.
Big old ball of fire.
It had to be at least 20 feet. At least 20 feet.
Yeah, 25.
I guarantee it. We have followed all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, they got the Jefferson Proving Ground.
And
that
then
way, right?
the Urban Training Center.
Yeah.
Right over by it.
Yeah. So it's hard telling.
I really don't think this is military.
Right,
I truly
ever,
don't.
like, if you get on Google Maps and you look at the aerial view of the big oaks, have you seen the pentagram?
Have done. Well, it's a hexagram.
What is that? Crazy.
We were talking about that.
I mean,
you know.
Well, what about the?
I mean, I know. Me too. I'm like,
you
we
might
need
get blown
to.
up though.
Yeah, you might. For real, you might.
Trent, the guy that was just here.
Supposedly there's a lot of unexploded ordnance.
A lot of stuff up there in the Proving Ground.
Yeah.
They do.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I know it's
burns up there.
weekdays.
Burn stuff off.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of that.
Yeah, he worked for the military. He'd been for a long time.
So somebody said they used that shape because it's what was it? It was what were they saying? It was easy to pull in and pull out without. But
the story was they had a specific way that you to pull in, pull out.
That's crazy.
I'm not buying.
Yeah, that's that.
Grant and I, we started this whole historical, just searching for things, and about 7 years ago, and we Googled. We were on Google, looking, and we found in that same area that there was some demonic.
You think they're,
I don't want a cult kind of thing over there, and I cannot, for the life of me, find it now.
That happens. You'd be surprised.
We've been looking for it for years now again. And
I have done that. In fact, if you listen to my original Witch Diggers episode way back, episode 4 of my podcast, I tell another Bigfoot story about the one they found in the cave.
Yes.
I go to look for that story. Now, I can find something that tells the same story, but in that original article, it was much more detailed, and there was more information. I cannot find that anywhere, and that's not like me at all.
About the Bigfoot story, yeah.
I clip things and I put them in folders. I'm very, very, so I can get them again. I should have that somewhere. It's gone. I can't find it. I did another newspaper search for it. I can't find it.
We kept trying to find that article about the demonic stuff.
Yeah,
over
there. And whatever group of demonic, whatever cult it was, it started with a D. I do remember that, but you know, we were looking for so much stuff, and we just kind of like digging. But it was in that same area as the Bishler area and the whole. Yeah, but
the area of the proving ground had taken over.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And they took that over what in the 40s or something?
yeah, they came in. It was in the 30s.
Earlier than that, okay.
There was hundreds of families out there.
Yeah, and I read something about how they just confiscated
they just
the
came
land.
and they just told them they offered them some money for their property and they had 30 days to get out.
Wow.
They either take it or not.
Right.
Some of the farms out there have been passed down from generation to
I
generation
know,
for
it's so
hundreds
sad.
of years.
Yeah,
It is
it's
sad.
And they
so
made them
sad.
get out. So, I mean, but there was some kind of a demonic. And that was like in the 1800s,
Okay.
around that time when we
Interesting.
found that. But we've never been able to find that article.
I'll look.
Yes.
I'll look for it.
They
Because
say they did
we've looked.
exorcisms
Yeah,
at Ebenezer's Church.
In Ebenezer Church, what we were talking
Me and
about.
Eddie found that somewhere. We read that.
Okay.
What's that?
They've done exorcisms at the Ebenezer Church.
Exorcism?
Well,
Okay.
it's got that labyrinth thing.
Really, it's like I read. It's more like a meeting place, gathering place at Ebenezer's. But for years and years, like I said, my family's lived out here. My grandparents moved in this area. Probably, let's see, my mom is 70. She was young. I mean, they probably lived out here 65 years, 60 years or something. You know. The Ebenezer Church has been there for a long time. Well, my mom and them used to go there when they were younger. They'd go there parking and just do. And you know, she said she's never seen anyone go to church there either as well.
I have never seen.
So-
My whole life I've lived here, and I've never seen.
Yeah.
I've never seen it hold church ever. Never.
New Year's Eve, I thought they were supposed to like have a thing there.
Did you
They
hear what he
didn't.
said about the labyrinth thing?
But it's a walk. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is supposed to be, but they don't usually.
Or a piece of walk, or walk a
It-
piece, something.
Yeah, it's supposed to be when you're in tune with the earth and
They
the
got-
labyrinth walk is, but you don't usually
Yeah, they
see
have it
those
right
at
there beside the
churches.
cemetery.
No, not usually.
In the
Yeah,
cemetery
it's
beside the
in.
church.
Yeah, it's
right there.
beside the cemetery.
That's perfect.
That's weird.
It's
Like
a
somebody
small,
comes and mows it every year.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And you
They
know,
don't.
my mom and them were younger, and my dad and my uncle
Yeah, but they don't.
told them, "You okay? Get out and walk in front of the car." So my mom and my Aunt Brenda did, and the wind was blowing so hard, and they were so cold that they had to tell my dad and them, "Let us back in the car." Well, my dad and
Wait,
my
what? He was just messing with them? Like,
yeah,
okay.
And my dad and my uncle was like, "There's no wind blowing. You guys are crazy, you know." And they were freezing to death, you know, they wanted back in the car, you know, and this all at the same little church, you know, and there used to be a big tree there. It was like, I mean, it was probably, literally as big around as all of us together right here. And do you guys remember that tree there? And it had those big knots all over it.
I do.
Well, they cut that tree down, and then we seen where they had cut the knots off of it, and they had candles in them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you? I mean, you're at a church, but they had candles in them and stuff, and then you know.
You found that wooden pitchfork?
I have that picture.
Did you show them that?
Where's my phone?
Oh, wow.
It's up there. It's
Oh,
up
no,
there.
I did something with my phone,
On the
too.
golf cart's up there. But I have a picture. I'll show you guys. I was back there one time, and I found this. It was just leaned right up against the tree. It looked just like a pitchfork. It was like shaped just like a pitchfork. I mean, it's like a U shape with one thing in the middle. But, you know, and like
It
that.
was just like a tree limb.
It was just a tree limb cut like that, but it was just leaned against the tree.
Where was this?
At Ebenezer's Church.
Just right up the road here.
And I don't know why, but we've always just been drawn there. The creepy stuff happens there.
Something
And
about the cats.
another time at that same church, which is all of this is just in a straight line that way, all the way to where the Bishler property. I mean, it's just all on the same creek. I mean, all the whole same way.
Yeah.
And from here there, I have family that lives there, and mostly it's on one side of the road. But like I have an Uncle Mikey there, and he's miserable and alone. The neighbor that his parents died, and he stays in a camper on his property. He's miserable and alone. And then I have two aunts that live just right on up from there, and they're miserable and alone.
Jeez.
And then, you know, I have another uncle that is right past there, and he's miserable and alone.
Your mom lived there until she
And my
moved.
mom lived there until we got her out of there. Now she lives in town, but she was miserable and alone there. I mean, and then Paul, my cousin that has the house that Brent helped him tear down, where I showed you the pictures a while ago, miserable. I mean, just misery all the way through there. I mean, all the way through there.
Huh.
And But me and my cousin David were at Ebenezer's one time. We were young. We backed in there in my truck, and I just shut my truck off. I mean, we just always went there, and we would go there and just walk to the creek and stuff there sometimes. But sometimes I wouldn't even get out of my car when I went there. But we were sitting there, and out of nowhere, now I'm not, if I said 100, that's probably more correct. 50 would be way too little. Cats. Now, they were all the same size. They were all different colors, but they had really long tails. And they just like surrounded our car. Huh. And then they were all the way down the lane, all the way to the end, to the road. I mean, they were like, I was like, let's get out of here. You know, and we left. They just were wagging their tails. They just came right out of the cornfield.
Wow.
I mean, just out of nowhere, like 100. I mean, anywhere from 50 to 100 cats. And they just were sitting all around us. And they were just going all the way to the road, and we left. And another time at that same church, we went back there again. But me and my friend were there, and crows were in the corn, because there is a cornfield there. But they came out, and there were so many crows, and they just hovered over top of us that it was dark.
Like they blocked out the sky.
They blocked out the sky.
Wow.
So many crows, they blocked the sky out. We haven't been there in a while, and I don't really want to. No, but I'm just like, it just so much stuff happens there.
You got some pictures from down there too with faces and stuff.
Yeah,
People.
I do. My cousin took some photos down there. Her daughter just snapped some photos, and you could see it looked like someone from the military. They had a hat, you know, and they had their bayonet on their shoulder, and just off in the trees. But I just.
So it is all. It's an old cemetery.
Yeah, it was established in like 18 something, but honestly, the guy from way back in the 1700s, I do believe, but it was like more or less like a gathering place, rather than. But
it's weird. You never see nobody there.
No,
the church is. It's not in real good shape, but it's not in bad shape.
It's
you know
not
what I'm
in
saying?
bad
They
shape.
keep it. Somebody
what you've
keeps it
seen
up
in
a
that
little bit.
picture is how it looks now. It's still,
Okay.
you know. I took my kids there. I used to take them there at nighttime and scare them, you know. You know, and I took a bottle of ketchup before and sprayed it on something, you know, and tried to scare them. But my oldest son, he's not scared of anything. He'll get right out there and walk through whatever. But, you know, we went there, and he was young. He was like, I'm kick the door. And he didn't kick the door. Like, I mean, if he did, he touched it. You know, I mean, and the doors flew open. I mean, and he's like, oh my gosh, well then here comes this guy, which Coopers, they were always the caretakers of the place. Here he comes down the lane. Like, I mean, as soon as that happened, he's like, comes down the lane, and he's got some gardening shears in his hand, and he's trimming that big tree I was telling you about. He's just cutting on this big tree, and I'm like, you know, and he just acts like, and then I'm like, hey. He's like, hi. I mean, he doesn't say anything to us or anything about anything, and then he's like, I'm like, so you got the caretaker back here? Do they have church back here still? He's like, I don't know. You know, and it's like, you don't know, but you're back here trimming the trees. Wow. You know what I mean? And he just was acting like, I don't know. You know, and so then he just left, but it's like he knew that door came open on that church. It was crazy.
Strange Familiars is brought to you by our patrons. Thank you, patrons. Thank you so much. We could not make Strange Familiars without your help. If you like Strange Familiars and you'd like to help us make the show and get extra content besides, you can become a patron at Patreon. It's patreon.com/strangefamiliars. All of our patrons get commercial-free versions of the weekly shows, plus extra shows every month. We do at least one exclusive show for our patrons. Sometimes we do more. For more information, go to patreon.com/strangefamiliars. Our Patreon patrons also get to participate in an ongoing paranormal experiment, which has really just hit the ground running. Super excited for that. And it's not too late to join. You can step in on that at any time. Again, for more information, patreon.com/strangefamiliars. We also have an option on Apple Podcasts. The program there is called Patron of the Strange, and our Apple Podcast subscribers get the commercial-free shows weekly as well as the extra shows monthly. And very soon, we will be activating YouTube subscriptions, so you will be able to sign up there and get the bonus shows as well. Once again, I'd like to thank all of our patrons. Wherever you're signed up, thank you.
I can tell you today, this happened just today. My cousin was here. I won't put her business all out there, but she's recently gotten saved. She got baptized, and she's recently established a relationship with the Lord and stuff. So, she came and we went to the cave, and I was like, well, I haven't been in there, so I don't go by myself. So we go down there, me and her go in there, and we're kind of back in there, and we're like, we're not going. So we come out, so we come out, and I turn around, I'm like, where is she at? I mean, like literally that fast. Like, where is she at? What? For me to witness her 25 feet away, grabbing two trees like this, like she's stopping. Like, I mean, putting her brakes on to stop. Like, she literally, I think there's some rocky terrain there, and then you go in, there was a lot of leaves, and then you go to where the water starts again. Well, there was no sign of any skid. I mean, she didn't run. I think she was going to fall, and something carried her. She said she doesn't know, but all she knows was her feet wasn't on the ground, and she didn't know what to think about anything until she grabbed those two trees before she went to the creek. And literally, like, we were coming out of there, she was right beside me, and I was like, where are you? How did you get over there? She said, I don't know.
And this happened right outside of the cave.
Today.
So this happened outside of the cave.
Yep.
Yes, right outside of the cave. Like, she literally just, I mean, she flew there.
That's what she said.
I'm talking 25 feet. I mean, and I'm talking 25 feet. She literally, and when I looked up, I was like, where'd she go? Because we were standing right there together. I mean, I could have touched her with my elbow. And you have to step off of there. Like some little rocky stuff. You got to kind of go across the little water that comes out of there, and then it goes to leaves. And I literally looked at the leaves to see if there was where she stumbled maybe, but she was literally floating in the air.
Yeah, she said she don't know how she got there.
25 feet. She said she don't know how she got there. Well, neither do I.
Wait. So when you say 25, where did she move from that you're perceiving, and where did she wind up?
When you come out of the cave.
Yeah.
Okay, we were coming out of the cave, and we were at the mouth of the cave.
Okay.
And she is already out.
So she's at the mouth.
She's at the mouth of the cave, and I'm just inside of it.
Okay.
And I look over, and she's gone.
Interesting.
And I'm like, where in the heck did she go?
Yeah.
And I see her 25 feet away, holding on to these two little trees, literally.
So
like
she flew forward across.
Forward across, like, the ravine. There's like there's some little rough water there, and there's like some rocks. I mean, you got to kind of watch your step, And she literally flew 25 feet. And she literally I seen her. Looks like she was landing. I mean, she grabbed those two trees to stop herself from going in the water.
Wow.
She grabbed her. I mean, she like literally just grabbed those trees to stop.
Okay.
And I mean, she was literally floating. I mean, 25 feet. And she was going to stay here to talk to us tonight, but her daughter wanted her to come home. And like I said, she just got, had through some troubles and recently, but it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. She was right there beside me, and then she was gone.
Wow.
And this happened today.
Today,
weird, ain't it?
At about 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I mean, it happened at about 6.
How far is that cave from here?
It's right over the hill.
It's just right over the hill.
How quick can you get to it?
Right now?
We can get there in like 2
3 minutes.
Okay.
You ready to go there?
Maybe.
Tyler's always ready to go to a cave.
And so, I mean, I tell you right now, it was so crazy.
Okay.
this little lady that was sitting here, she lives across the creek, and we got to kind of haul, we holler back and forth sometimes. And she heard us over there, and she's like, "What are you doing?" We were literally, we were laughing, but we were so. And I hate to say this, but she was like, she said she felt like she was so gassy and just, like afterwards, like she was just
like a balloon,
like a balloon, and she felt like she was just.
Shouldn't have ate that chocolate.
Something. She just said that she was, but she literally floated. She flew. I would say she floated, but she didn't float. She flew. Like it was.
That's what she said. Flew.
It was that fast, and she was just like. Then I just look over, and she's 25 feet away from me. Wow. And she's grabbing these two trees and before she went into the water. Wow. I was like, if she wouldn't have grabbed the tree, she might have went across the creek or something. But she literally flew there.
Yeah, I'd like to see the entrance before we go, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it was.
That is strange that happened today.
Yeah, it did.
It knew we were coming.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what she said. She said she felt like she flew.
Wow.
Because when they were telling me about it, I was kind of laughing. She goes, I felt like I just flew there. She said she didn't really.
I'm telling
she
you,
don't know how she got there.
There.
She just said she was there. Wow. Well, I was laughing at him, but.
That's very interesting.
I don't know about you guys. I'm a spiritual kind of person. I believe. To each their own, but I do believe that if we believe in the Holy Spirit, we have to believe there's other spirits. How can there not be? But I do.
Well, down through here, there's a lot of Indian stuff. Down this creek and stuff, and all up through down through here, big cliffs. And like up in there where you guys was at, not quite that far, but Purdue came down and at what's Max's last name? Max Hill. Up on top of his hill up there, they come down. They had a big fire pit right there, and they slept there. I didn't know the Indians slept like that. They have a fire there, and the ground be out like this, and that's where they'd sleep like that.
Huh?
There's a fire pit down here. It's not like I don't think it's ever been documented or anything because. We lived here, but honestly, years ago they wouldn't let anyone build here because of the rock structure on the grounds, and they were afraid that it would upset the earth too much and all. But it's obviously man-made. We don't know how old it is, and we can show you that before you leave too. It's right down there. And it's a big. I don't know if it was a well or if it was where they maybe cooked or whatever. But there's an old Fairweather crossing road. Our trail is on an old Fairweather crossing road, and it goes down to cross the creek, and but there was a battle here. There was a battle here years ago, and Indians, they took a lot of the land from them, and it's a pretty sad thing. All the way through here, all the way to what's now called San Jacinto, which it was named after the battle in Texas, but yeah, it's.
And then Vernon, that was a big Indian.
The Trail of Tears went right through here.
And there's the Underground Railroad here, and
Skyline Bill.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff.
I say he's buried on his horse, standing up.
No, he's buried standing up.
Yeah, I've been there. I've seen it.
I worked on his house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna show you guys this picture of this pitchfork. Yeah, we can definitely go to the cave and show you whatever, but I swear Paul, we'll have to tell you about the story of Betty today. She literally flew today.
She swears.
You need a headlamp or?
She said her feet
what's
were
that?
off the ground.
Levitation. Really?
You need a headlamp or anything? I got an extra headlamp, I think.
Where was she going?
We have.
That could help.
We have one headlamp.
Okay.
We got
very nice.
Yeah,
I probably have a flashlight somewhere.
I have a flashlight.
Okay.
Here's my thing.
John has a flashlight.
Nice.
John has all his gear.
Ever since I was a kid, I've always thought I was reincarnated. I feel like I was killed in the Vietnam War and came back.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And I don't know why, but I've always thought that.
Huh.
So what year were you born?
68.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know why I've always thought that, but Always seemed kind of weird to me.
Interesting.
You never know.
I mean, I don't really.
Here's the
believe in
photo
nothing like
of
that. Or
that.
anything, but I mean,
It's interesting.
I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
I just. And I'm not really sure exactly how old I was when I started feeling that way.
Yeah.
But I've always, I don't really tell
Here's
nobody about it or
the
nothing. You know what I'm
photo of
saying?
the.
Yeah, sure.
But
I told you
I've always
look
kind of
on
felt that.
That's interesting.
That's, yeah.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
I would have took that if it was.
I did. Well, that's the story. I brought that home with me, and my mom, her fiance said, "What did you bring that home for?" And I was like, I thought it was kind of cool. And he threw it, and it landed on top of a building that we have at my. We've all kind of just lived out
Still
there.
up there?
Yeah, I mean, unless it blew up, but the building's still there, and
Nice.
yeah, and I've never got up there to see if it was still up there, but yeah,
It's
he
probably
was like,
rotted away by now.
he was like, "Why did you bring that here?" I don't think. I mean, if it was something supernatural, it wouldn't be rotted away. I wouldn't think. I would think
It looks like a stick.
I would have turned that into a dowsing rod.
Well, but I would. Yeah.
Have you ever used those?
Oh, I can water witch.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
my grandma was good at that.
I'll find water if you need me to find water. I mean, there's probably plenty around here, but I never knew my dad could do it, and they made us move. We had a hand dug well on the farm, and Baltimore County, Maryland came out, so you can't have a hand dug well, even though it's been there for hundreds of years and it was fine. They made us drill it, so we had the well driller come out, and he drilled 3 holes, and he's like, "I can't find water." I walked over. My dad just cracked a branch off a tree, said, "I'll tell you where to dig." Bam, drill there, and the guy hit water the first time. And he never mentioned that he could do it. He never said it before. I only saw him do it the one time, but it stuck in my head, and I thought, I'm going to try that sometime. And sure enough, I tried it. In fact, I was trying to find a grave one time with John.
Wow.
And they say you can use them to find graves,
Really?
and it kept pointing in this one spot, and I said, "John, I think the grave's here," and I look over and he's laughing. And he's like, "You know what it is?" I was like, "No, what?" And he said, "There's a drainage tile going under the field, and it was flowing water." I
I could see where the outlet was, and I knew it went right across there.
Wow.
So I knew he was ever water.
My grandma found all the wells out in there where I grew up.
Yeah,
She witched wells out there.
that's awesome.
But I always just used to do like clothes hangers, 2 clothes hangers.
Yeah, you can do that.
Hell, and they'll
Yep.
go whoop.
Yep, you can do that.
For
So
water,
you've done
I
it a
mean,
little bit too,
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
But I mean, I ain't actually ever tried to witch a whale or nothing. But I mean, just like trying to find a water line or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, no,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, you can do that.
Wow.
I had it one time. I was doing it, and this was on a paranormal thing, and the witness said where she supposedly saw this creature. I don't know exactly what she saw, but I was dowsing, and my one friend, he's like, he gets around spooky stuff, and the hair on his arm will stand up straight. It's really, really cool to see. And he'll just say, "Tim, look." Bam, it's Chad, if you listen to the podcast. The hair will be standing straight up on his arm. And he's standing there in that spot. And I take that dowsing rod over. And I never had this happen before. I'm standing there, and it pulled down so hard, it snapped. Crack.
Really?
That stick cracked. And I was like, wow, I've never had that happen.
So weird.
Yeah,
Never.
People holding on to it, and it just peels the bark, and it goes down there.
Yep.
I've never seen them do
Well, like,
that.
what would even explain that? Nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I could douse where, I mean, this is so bizarre. I could douse where this thing went through the field. I could follow it like
Really?
Yeah. I was like, I could do dip, bip, bip, and then we could see like a trail through the field. Like I led right to it. It was weird.
Wow.
Like, so I don't know if I could do it every time with that. I know I'm pretty good at finding water, but that day was weird. I don't know why I started doing it. I just I looked down and there was a Y-shaped stick, and I just started dousing. And
That is weird. Yeah, too bad Paul ain't here. He could tell
I know.
He could
Oh
tell
man,
some
I'll tell you,
stories about out
that
there
is crazy.
at the house out there.
Did she show him the stuff on the computer?
yeah.
Man, well, I can tell you, Paul's sister, I was very good friends with.
Mhm.
I worked with her before she died, up until she died, really. And I heard her voice. I heard her voice plain as day. It made all the hair stand up.
After she was dead. Okay.
Yes, like she was warning him, get out. I mean, I swear it was her voice. It flipped me out. Yes, it made all my hair stand up. Tiffany was her name, and that was her voice. I know it was. They're coming. That's what she said. They're coming.
Oof.
And that place over there, I'm pretty sensitive, I think, because I can feel energies, I guess. I like around here, some places I can feel good and bad. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Nah,
I don't know
trust
how
your
to
gut.
explain it.
Trust your gut.
Right, yeah, exactly. But, yeah, there's a lot of crazy things around here, I think.
Your drink.
Cover the best. Some of these down.
Did you get you some jungle juice?
Oh, I'm great. Okay.
Need a refill?
No. Gotta be up late today.
Big gulp?
Big gulp.
I love this whole area. See, it's very like where we live, because we live near the Susquehanna River. So we got,
a little bit steeper hills.
yeah, just it rolls a little bit more,
Yeah.
but it's very, very similar, and I just love it. I love the little creek valleys heading to the rivers and stuff. It's just, that's my favorite place to hike. I think they're the most beautiful things. My friend, the guy I was talking about back home, he always wants to hike in the mountains, and no, come on, let's go hike by the river. Let's go hike by the river. He's called me a river rat. You're just a river rat. I'm like, come on. And I won him over finally. I took him in some of those creek valleys. He's like, wow, this is beautiful. I said, I told you. Mountains are great. I love the mountains, but I like hiking these creek valleys.
Sad when I don't even know who that is.
So earlier today, I was coming down to just see if I could hook up with you guys, and went over to Muscatatuck because I'd always wanted to go and check it out. Heard some good things, and I swung in and stopped at I think it's called Sandhill Pond, and I was like, I'll check this out. So I get out of the car and walk over there. Wasn't really thinking anything, just sort of enjoying the space, and found an old Gatorade bottle. And this is important because if I hadn't found the Gatorade bottle, I wouldn't have put it. I have a little thing in the back of my vehicle where I put trash that I find when I'm on the trail. Mm-hmm. So I find the Gatorade bottle, walk back, and go to put it in the back of my car, and that handprint is on the back of my car. And that handprint was not there when I left town, and it wasn't there when I stopped for gas in Columbus.
So the interesting thing about that handprint is it looks exactly like the handprint that Clint had on his car when he stopped in Falk.
No way, really.
It had that exact same kind of curve to the fingers and everything. It looked exactly like that. That's why I wanted to touch it to see if it's greasy, because he said his was like real greasy on his windshield.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought so. I sent it to Luke, who we've been on the email chain.
Yeah.
And Luke was like, he's out in Arizona right now. And he's like, well, and my thought was, at some point I've leaned against the window with too much cheeseburger on my hand or something.
Right.
I've leaned against the window, and then the dust kicking up from the back of the car layered it.
Yeah.
But then it's such a fine print, I was able to put it on my phone and reverse it so I could look it up next to my hand, and the lines are different.
Oh, interesting.
It's not my hand.
That's very
your
interesting.
hands are a lot bigger than
And the
that.
hand and that hand is a little smaller, but it's wider. And he was looking at it, and he said the thumb to palm ratio is.
That's what I thought
weird.
was odd too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I mean, it's like either it's a partial thumbprint or it's a very odd. Yeah.
It's very odd.
Yeah.
And it's so like, it's so there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's.
Oh
it's,
yeah.
There's no.
You weren't gonna miss it.
No,
Yeah.
there was no way I was gonna miss it. The minute I came around the corner, I was like, and I've heard about it happening.
Sure. Yeah.
Down in Yellowwood, when I go there, people have said they've had their car smacked or they've had prints on their cars and things like that. But I've always kind of wanted that to happen, and there it was.
Huh.
So yeah, that was today. Up at Morgan Monroe.
Bigfoot's here.
Oh, did he show up?
Oh, you couldn't even see him. It's too dark. Oh my God.
Look at this.
Always good to have Bigfoot.
Discovered.
We got him.
The entire trip was a success.
You found him.
Incredible.
The best part is that the pictures I just took of you are blurry.
Ah, nice. Of course. It's legit.
In person. Sasquatch.
You found him. Little friend.
Amazing.
You guys can put. We found him in Indiana.
Incredible. I love that suit. Wow. You're killing me. You're killing me. Oh, I love that so much.
I hope she don't fall in the woods trying to get through there with her feet.
Somebody showed up at my door on Halloween in a Bigfoot costume.
I said, wait. And I went and got my book, and I made him hold my book.
Yeah.
I took a picture, like Bigfoot endorsed.
We had a guy wearing that one night
I've been
at the
saying
trail.
this for a long
and he was
time.
Yeah.
right there. There's a little pine tree right over it. He was swinging
I'm
on
so
the
out of
pine tree
breath.
off of it. It's pretty good.
I'm not making fun of Bigfoot by no means.
Yeah, so-
Oh, I'm not. If you can't have a sense of humor about this
we
stuff,
thought
you're
you guys would
done.
get a kick out of that.
You're done. You got.
I saw the costume in there on the chair. They've been waiting.
Right, I thought
You gotta have.
I thought
If I didn't have a sense of humor about this, I'd have been
gonna
taken years ago.
I thought he
When we
was
first
going
got
to
here,
do
he
it.
was going to do it.
No one did it, so I was like, I'm going to. I'm Littlefoot. Yeah, I'm Littlefoot.
Littlefoot.
There's most people that, like, her cousin, that, well, orbs and stuff is in his house and everything, he'd go crazy. Is most people crazy like that when they see stuff like that? A lot of people?
I don't.
Not really crazy, but you know what I'm saying.
I talk to enough people who are perfectly sane, who are, cops, lawyers, people with businesses. So I'm going to say no. But however, I also talk to people.
Yeah, he's freezing.
I think some people get driven crazy by this stuff.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing. If it's really a lot of it, activity going on.
I think the chances become higher. They very well probably happened to the witch stickers people. That's probably what made them mad. They probably just couldn't escape it in a sense. And it's dangerous to get obsessed with this stuff. My lecture to people who to get involved in this is don't. But I realize people will hear me do it and they're going to go, I want to do that too. So if you're going to do it, my advice is have some kind of
Faith.
Right, some kind of spiritual centering. And it doesn't have to be what I believe. Like, I believe what I believe. Other people can believe what they want. But you need some kind of centering, and you also need to have humor about it.
Yes.
And you need to have something else to get away from. It can't be the only thing you do.
Right.
You definitely have to have an open mind.
Yeah.
I mean, because you never know. We get out here and we dress up, and I go out here right now and I'm scared.
But then we get scared too.
But then I go out here to work on the trail because some things you can't do except at nighttime. Well, I'm out there like 2 minutes and I got to come inside. I've already convinced whoever I've partnered up with, because I'm scared to go by myself, that we need to go inside. Because I've heard things, footsteps, deer, whatever, but I don't know what it is. But sometime in my adult life, I became scared of the dark.
Yeah.
And he hates it. He laughs at me most of the time. But I'm scared.
No need to be scared of dark. You need to be scared of what's in it.
Dark. No, it's the dark that's scared. I don't know.
There's also the same thing in the light.
What have you guys ever? What did you say, Amy, about numbers? Like numbers in the air. Have you ever had any?
I had a dream. Where I was driving with my wife and my daughter in the car. And I looked up and I saw a haze in the sky up through the car windshield. And I said, "What is that?" I was driving on. It was the road I grew up on. It's called Dark Hollow Road of all things. And I'm looking up at it. And I can't figure out what it is. And of course, I'm driving, so I'm looking and looking at the road, and then I'm looking up. And all of a sudden, I looked at it, I said, "Those are numbers." There were numbers all across the sky. It looked like an old computer screen. Remember the old blue, and it was just numbers. And I said, "We're in a simulation." I said that. Immediately, whoop, all that stuff condenses into one light above the car, and I get pulled up, upside down, through the windshield.
Wow.
I wake up. I can make all this go away. I'm Catholic. I can make all this go away. I say the Hail Mary. It's done. I know this. I've had enough happen. I can make it. So I start saying the Hail Mary. I wake up saying the Hail Mary. I mean, like finishing the prayer. My wife knows if I do that, she knows something's happened. And she's like, "It's okay. It's okay." Within a few days of that, I get out of the shower. And my wife says, "What the hell is what is going on with your shoulder?" My collarbone is sticking up an inch.
Oh, wow.
She's like, "You need to go to the doctor right now. That's not right." So I go to the doctor, and he says, "When did you have a car accident?" I never been in a car accident. He said, "You work construction, something drop on your shoulder?" I said, "No." He said, "We don't see this." We don't see this without an injury.
Wow.
About a week after that, my legs break out in this rash. No one can tell me what it was. I go to the doctor. I'm like, what? It's an itchy rash with like dark spots. There's still spots on my legs from that. It doesn't itch anymore, but whatever it is, left dark spots on my leg. I go to the doctor. I'm like, what is this? My wife thought it was something called petechiae or something, something we do with your circulation. She's like, you need to go to the doctor and get this. I go to the doctor. Like, it's not that. We don't know what it is. I'm like, it's itchy as hell. And they gave me some cream. It kind of worked a little bit. But I didn't think about that until somebody else said, hey, you were lifted up by your feet in that dream.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was a dream, but it was also a dream that had apparently real life effect.
I'm going to start writing my dreams down.
She has some weird dreams.
Yeah, she does.
So why'd you ask that question about seeing numbers?
Amy, this happened to her recently. Amy?
I was in bed, I couldn't sleep, and I was just kind of, you'll talk to yourself or something. Well, then all of a sudden a bunch of numbers just started doing this across my room, and I'm like, I shut my eyes.
Do you remember what kind of numbers they were by chance?
3 and 11 and 7.
Interesting.
Huh. And just over and over again.
Yep, just going like this. Back and forth.
Huh.
Those numbers significant to you in any way for any reason?
Well, Betty, she had some. Chad was saying something about she had dreaming about some numbers.
Oh, I don't know.
By the way, if anybody does not want to be on my podcast, and I will only use first names, but if anybody does, let me know and I'll cut you out. Just say, hey, I don't want to be on your podcast, and I'll cut you out of the recording.
We
Okay.
don't care. That's why we wanted
We're
to meet
excited you guys
think
are
it's
here,
cool.
and
yeah,
we was
hoping to learn some things too.
I kind of would like to use a few of your, things for
Yeah,
my
for
trail,
the trail.
for settings of my trail. I mean, if it'd be okay with you, I could maybe you could tell me a
Themes
couple
or
of good
something.
things, just because this year I want to do local things,
Oh, okay.
I want to do local scene settings in different spots because it's really kind of
Like
hard.
Bloody Mary and things like that.
You guys know about Baldwin Cemetery, don't you?
So I'm not local. I specialize in my area. So,
you don't know about Bloody Mary?
That's
No,
our Bloody
no.
Mary.
Okay,
I think
so
every county has
Bloody
it.
Mary, which is on the same line of. She was a young lady, and they said she was raped, and her grave is in Baldwin Cemetery, and you can go there, and they say you can see her at night. She's angry. She's still got her blood-stained clothes on, and
Other than the blood stain, do they say a color associated with her clothes?
white.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, white. But it's a folklore that's been around here forever. They say don't get in front of the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times, and but they have what's called a ghost walk here, and they have it in Vernon, and they tell folklore stories. Well, we had a mutual, all of us I think know Shorty. Is his name, and he passed away, and him and I were really good friends, and I've always been a spiritual person, and I did not know until we went to his funeral that his mom said he did not believe in God. Well, you would think of years of being around me that I'm always talking about things like that. He would have said something to me. So it kind of bothered me, for a long time. But Brent and I, when we first got together, we went to the Ghost Walk in Vernon. And what it is it's several skits of different things that have happened. They tell folklore stories, but they go from one scene to the next. Like they're actor in this scene, and then they move on to the next scene, and you have there, and then they move on around. Well, we're there, and we're at the scene. Well, it was kind of different, total different than it had been any other year. It was kind of strange, but the person in the scene looked like a cloned image of Shorty, our friend. And the whole entire time, he's looking at me and Brent, and I'm looking at Brent thinking, did you see this? Brent's like, oh my God, we're freaking out. Because it really looks just like him. And he has on white pants and a white wife beater, and he had a jacket on, or is that all he had on? Well, Shorty was buried in his Navy uniform, his white pants, and his, and he's staring at us the whole entire time. This skit's going on, and he gets up and he comes and he goes right in front of us and he smiles at us real big and he just takes off running. And we did not see. We was like.
We tried to find him.
Wow. Like we were like running ahead.
He was ostensibly another member of the audience.
He was supposed to be an actor.
Oh, he's supposed to be an actor.
Right. He was an actor.
Was he doing something in the skit, or just kind of?
Yeah, he was
being an actor in the skit. The skit was of he was the guy driving the car. It was him and a friend was out, and they were.
Wow.
They picked up a girl walking, and she was cold, and he gave her his Letterman's jacket, and that's what he had, a Letterman's jacket on, and he gave it to the girl, and then he realizes when him and his friend get down the road that they she had his jacket, so they turn around to go back, and when they get back, there's just an abandoned old rundown house, and there's no sign of nothing. And when they dropped the girl off, it was a normal looking house. Well, he was the actor in the skit that was playing the guy that gave the Letterman's jacket to the girl. And we did not, there was 5 or 6 more skits after that. We like literally took off to try to find him, and we did not see anyone that looked like him in any other of the skits anywhere down through there. And it was weird, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we saw he literally sprinted.
Wow.
Yeah,
like,
looked,
I mean, just like,
he looked right at us,
looked at us and smiled, and he just was gone.
And we looked for him.
Right.
And we couldn't, or somebody resembled him or anything.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, we couldn't find anyone, and it was just weird. It was crazy.
It was.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to go to the cave?
Check out the cave.
Yeah.
Just quick.
Yeah.
After we told the stories there, and I looked for the audio. I can't believe I wasn't running the recorder when we did this, but I cannot find the recordings. So I might have not been recording. We went to a cave on their property. They said, of course, Tyler had to go to a cave. If there's a cave, Tyler has to go. So we go off through the woods and we go to this cave, and it was a little cave. I don't think it went back very far. You had to like bend down to get in. Look, I'll go into a cave if there's a reason for me to go into a cave, No, seriously, like if there's, somebody saw a creature go in, or, it's something to do with the legend or something like that.
But you don't like inherently love caves the way
just to go into a cave. I don't get a huge thrill out of just going into caves. I've seen rocks. So I stayed on the outside of the cave and shone my headlamp in, gave them some extra light, and they went in. I was standing outside, I believe with Tina, with the woman who invited us over. I'm pretty sure she was next to me. And out from the cave comes a bird. And this bird flew right into my face, inches away from my face, and hovered there. Maybe for a count of 3 to 5 seconds,
like a hummingbird.
And then it went to her and hovered in front of her face, and then it went off. It was not a hummingbird. It was way too big to be a hummingbird. Now, this is nighttime. Something's coming out of the cave. Of course, I'm thinking bat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I totally.
But it was 100% not a bat, and it hovered there. Now, I told John about it when he came out of the cave. I said, man, this bird came out. And he said the same thing you said. He said, well, it must have been a hummingbird.
Yeah.
I said, it was not a hummingbird. He said, well, only hummingbirds can hover. I said, well, this thing hovered and it wasn't a hummingbird. It was way too big and meaty to be a hummingbird.
Could it be just a bigger size hummingbird? And
it was not.
That you don't tend to see them that close up?
No. And it wasn't a cave sparrow either. I looked up cave sparrows. It was not that. I forget, at the time I had told Sierra the story, it was a kind of a powdery blue looking bird. And she looked up and she found like a bird that it might have been, that's, in that area of Indiana kind of thing. But they don't tend to nest in caves, and they certainly don't fly at night, and they aren't supposed to be able to hover. So it was a pretty strange thing. And I wish I had the audio of it, because I would really like to listen back to that at this point and, hear what was going on when this bird came and hovered in my face, but I couldn't find it. But still.
Well, here it says that some kestrels and kingfishers also, and terns also hover.
Maybe a kingfisher. Maybe. I'm not sure though. Whatever it was, whether it was a natural bird or not, it was still very cool. It came out and just hovered right in front of my face and then went off.
It wasn't an American kestrel.
No, I would know a kestrel for sure. In any case, don't have that audio. Wish I did, but it was definitely a neat night, very interesting night. And then after that, something else happened, which whatever form the Witch Digger stories take, probably a book at this point. We will tell that part of it in the book. Okay, we got another little piece of audio here that John recorded. This is from his dad, Mike, who tells a story about being tried for, as the powwow doctors say, or being powwowed for, and about using a potato to take warts away. So it's just a short little clip, but that was pretty interesting. So we'll go ahead and play that here.
All right. How to remove warts 101. Number one, get an old potato. It has to be sprouting. Cut it in half, sprinkle it with salt, and turn it out towards some direction. I don't think it really matters which direction it is, east or west or north or south. But anyhow, you took this potato, and when it got juicy, you put this on the wart. And then when you put the potato back in the window to sprout again, the wart was gone. That was the idea of that.
I know Pop did that.
I remember that good. I remember that good because they did it for me as a kid. Yeah. How to get rid of warts. It must have worked, April. I don't know. I don't know.
Did he talk about in the audio who it was that tried for him? Who the powwow doctor was?
No.
That I'd be curious to see if it was somebody that
yeah,
he and my mom probably both knew because they're about the same age, grew up in the same area.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
See if it was my great grandfather.
Right.
It's possible it's the same area.
Yeah, it really could be. Really could be. I would like to collect more stories like that, and even if they're just short segments of people who remember being powwowed for and the details.
Yeah, I'm thinking that probably that last generation is sort of like...
Yeah, it's time to get those stories.
Time to get those stories because people who I didn't think were old are now all of a sudden old. That could be partly because we're old now and those people are even older.
No clue what you're talking about. I am not old at all. All right. We are not doing a curiosity this week because
everyone's curious enough. The world's too curious, maybe. Maybe it's time to just pull it back a little bit. Be a little less.
Literally, we waited too long to record and we just didn't.
And we don't have the light to take any decent pictures.
Yeah, so we'll get back to curiosity this week. Next week, however, you can still go to our Etsy shop and buy other curiosities of the week. There are some still left, including last week's devil postcard.
I have a ton of stuff I've been since I lost one of my jobs. I've been dutifully doing some eBay, and that you can find under Strange Familiars.
Mm-hmm. I have links to the eBay shop on the website as well.
I have a lot of really cool pictures with dogs in them. If there's a particular breed you like, I've been going through my dog photos and listing a lot of those. So.
All right. Also at Etsy, at our Etsy shop, which is called Lost Grave, but if you type in Strange Familiars at Etsy, you should see our stuff come up. You can get my books. If you get them from us on Etsy, I will sign them before we pack them up. Artwork, originals and prints, including the artwork for tonight's show. Strange Familiars t-shirts, stickers, patches, and more. Allison has some photos and other ephemera up on Etsy as well. Go ahead and check it out. Again, our shop name is Lost Grave, but if you type in Strange Familiars at Etsy, you should see our stuff there. There's also links in the show notes of every episode and at strangefamiliars.com. All right, that's it for this episode. We'll be back soon with more. I Have Never Minded the Loneliness, Hermits and Their Stories, is the latest book by Timothy Renner. What compels a person to leave behind society, forsaking family, friends, and the comforts of modern life to live in solitude? The hermits of the 19th and early 20th centuries are as fascinating as they are mysterious. These enigmatic figures often became the focus of public interest, with newspaper stories turning them into local legends, folk heroes, and symbols of a life apart. In I Have Never Minded the Loneliness, you'll discover the extraordinary lives of hermits who defied convention. John Stink, rumored to have died and risen again more than once. William Woodruff, whose long vow of silence followed a broken heart. Brusher Mills, the serpent hunter who sold his own snake oil remedies. And Truman Commodore Downs, who claimed Mars as his homeland. These stories and many more reveal the complex lives of individuals who chose to live apart from the world. I Have Never Minded the Loneliness is available now at Amazon.com or wherever you buy books. Strange Familiars is a production of Dark Holler Arts. Intro and background music is by Stone Breath. If you want to purchase music or hear more, you can go to stonebreath.bandcamp.com. We are on Instagram at Strange Familiars, one word, no underscore. Please give us a follow there. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/strangefamiliars, where you can join the Strange Familiars gathering group. For Strange Familiars merch, go to strangefamiliars.com/merch, and strangefamiliars.com has links to pretty much everything we do. You can find us there all the time.
Your heart is flame, then let my heart be burned. If your heart is pierced, then let my heart leak blood. If your crown is light, then let it shine on me. And the shadows cast like evil behind me. Oh, Mother, please hold me in your heart. Oh, Mother, please hold me in your prayer. If your sun shows wounds from spike and spear and thorn, let me share the pain that he bore on that mark. And your holy feet crush serpents under heel. But the venom fang thou shalt never feel. Oh, mother, please hold me in your heart. Oh, mother, please hold me in your prayer.